This is Jerry L. Green, Black Student Advocate, here with Emme Smith. Em, let's talk about what you do, what part of the country you're in, and how you got started with your organization.
Yes, well, actually, the Parent Power movement was birthed unconsciously about 8 years ago when my son was diagnosed with having ADHD. So given his diagnosis, I then had to advocate for him and have a seat at the table, proverbial table, if you will. And it's just been a journey since then. It's been 8 years, and it's just been a journey throughout those 8 years. Not very easy, a difficult one. But in doing that and me advocating, it has just shown me that there's a need for education. There's a need to show, to educate parents on how to advocate for their students, because it's not very easy when you're seated across the table from someone that you're referring to as Dr. So-and-so, and then you have your school psychologist, and then you have teachers. It's a very intimidating experience. So
what is your background?
What is my background?
Yeah.
So I actually started many years ago as a special education teacher. I found out very quickly that that was not my calling. Even though I really did love my kids, I didn't like the classroom. It just wasn't a good fit for me.
Okay.
From there, I have served in many human services positions and served underrepresented populations. Fast forward to present day, I am a high school counselor. So it's come full circle.
So how did you get in the lane and dealing with your own child? How did that evolve?
How did it evolve? I'm sorry, repeat that for me.
For the Parent Pal to evolve into an organization.
It evolved because in my experience of working with the underrepresented population, I would get questions, and essentially what I was doing informally was coaching these parents on what to say, what to ask for, how to say it when you go into these meetings, these parent-teacher meetings. And it just kind of evolved over time. And I was like, you know what? I saw the need. Now that I'm a high school counselor, I have the unique vantage point from both sides of the table as a special needs parent, but also as an educator. So I see both sides of that.
Okay. So now, what is your role once you get off work? So you go in and you're basically advocating for students as a school counselor. Then when you get home and you got to deal with your family and your child needs and other parents giving you calls, how does that work out?
Well, the thing about it is, the reason why I'm so passionate about this work and working with parents is that it's my story. It's my real life. It's not that I'm a guru or I've done extensive research on it. It's just that I live it. I've lived through it. So I deal with the emails. I deal with the parent-teacher conferences. I deal with the IEP meetings. I do all of that, right? So essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking a piece of my life and my experience and telling my parents, my clients, this is what I did and this worked out for me. This is what I think you should do. So, I take on clients as needed. They call me, I'm there to help.
So right now, if someone was in your region and you're in South Carolina, if someone wanted to reach you, what's your phone number? What's the website?
Well, my website is www.theparenthow.com. All of my clientele comes through that website. You go directly to my contact me page, type in your information, give me a little bit of information of what you're looking for, and then we can schedule a strategy session.
Okay. Let's talk about your book.
Okay.
So give the title in case someone want to pick it up, and let's talk about the book.
Absolutely. So I've become a newly established author. The name of my book is A is for Advocacy. I am super stoked about that. I also have a parent workbook that works in conjunction with that book. It can be purchased directly off of my website, or it's also available for purchase on Amazon.com.
Okay. So now you're doing workshops and everything like that?
I plan to. So this is
Okay.
new for me. This is new for me. I just wrote the book, and it's called A is for Advocacy. And what I do is I give 5 principles for academic success. It's very practical. It's a concise book. And those 5 principles are communication, collaboration, consistency, um, communication, collaboration.
So what's the basis of your book? What's the areas of your book, and what's the meat of the book?
Right. So the way that it's written, there's 5 principles for academic success. That's communication, collaboration, consideration, consistency, and commitment. And basically the whole premise is that advocacy is around those 5 things. And I spell those out for you and give you some practical strategies on how you can do that.
Okay. So now you've been doing your business, you're helping families. What kind of, I would say, case studies have you seen or experiences? And again, with that, just given situations, no names. You can give school if you want to age, but no names of the students that you worked with.
Absolutely. So the most common is typically brown children with behavioral issues. Not so much disrespectful, not aggression, just I don't feel like working today. I'm just going to put my head down. And just dealing with frustrated parents because those students are being suspended and essentially missing out on critical time spent in the classroom.
Right.
So I kind of walk them through that process and get them, make sure they're tested appropriately to see if they have if there's a learning disability involved, and walk them through that process of getting tested, getting a 504 plan, getting an IEP, and what to ask for. So that's my typical scenario, if you will.
Okay. So what about when parents say, oh, I'm bringing in an advocate? How have they said that the demeanor of the school has changed?
Well, I have to say, in my experience as a counselor, I have not seen a lot of that because parents are not educated on that piece. They don't know that they can bring an advocate in. So oftentimes the meetings are on 2 different spectrums. You have the overindulgent parent who is in there asking for everything. And oftentimes behind the scenes, when the school knows that that parent is coming in, then of course they're going to try to dot every I and cross every T. And they'll call in school officials from the district office and make sure, we look good. On the other hand, the parent that doesn't know a lot about what to ask for, and we know that those meetings are going to be easy, we just kind of get in there and let the parent talk, and they don't ask for much, and we give them what they ask for.
And that's what we see also. We do, we run 2 different lanes with the Black Student Advocate. One area, we're dealing with the discipline of the school, meaning bullying or something like that. The other side is not meeting the needs of the child with the IEP 504. So it's sides. So we'll get calls that say, hey, they're trying to kick my kid out of school. So at least on 5 occasions, as soon as the parent said, okay, I'm going to bring in my Black Student Advocate, the school will say, okay, we're not going to suspend little Jerry. We're going to work with him. So we have that. Then on the other hand, we go in where they were disciplining this kid to get him out the district, and we go in and say, okay, let's look at the IEP. They haven't even looked at the IEP, or they're not meeting the IEP, so, and with that, now you can't discipline that kid out the district until you back all the way up and start servicing his or her needs. And that's what we see when we go in, and we go in and ask questions. We quote ed code at the school board meetings and things like that. And I think that's the key. And part of our objective and mission is to inform parents of their basic rights to advocate for their kids.
Right.
Big right now on training parents on the ed code. So go in, if it don't sound right, say show it to me in the ed code. You know, so I even done a speech the other night, and then even had parents actually role play as to if they were going to a board meeting, what to say and things like that. So.
Right. And I think that's key. It's just all about education. Parents don't know that they have a say-so. When they're in that forum in that formal forum, they don't know that they can ask questions. They don't know that they can disagree, and they don't know that they can suggest. So I think that's very important. That's the education piece that I teach. That is so important. Just to know that you have a voice and you are your student's best advocate.
I think that because of the administration having the degrees and things like that, the parents really don't understand that it's a service contract. No different than a painter, no different than a real estate,
right.
No different than a concrete person, meaning that you work for the parent. And if the parent is not having the services, that need to be addressed. But because of the degrees, the parent thinks they have no power and that the district has all the powers.
They're intimidated.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a lot of calls like, I don't want to go in there. And it's multi-layered because parents have had bad experiences themselves in school. And one of the last things they want to do is go back into a school environment to bring all that trauma and that traumatic experience to them and then try to on behalf of their child.
That's a good point. Right.
So right now you've been around doing your business. What's next for you guys?
I just want to get the message out, and the book was the first step in getting that message out. I plan to find my target market, and I think it's very important that I reach out to churches and the Boys and Girls Clubs and the Jack and Jill clubs, and just where I can find my target market. It's just about getting that message out. And I think as that message broadens, then that's when we're going to start to have an impact on the school system and what the top ranking students, what that looks like, a little more diverse.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the organizations, our community, Jack and Jill, NCNW, 100 Black Men, 100 Black Women, the Greek organizations, let me see, who else? The Links, all them organizations that's doing work in the community already and partner with them, you'll get your word out pretty frequent and pretty fast. Right. Okay, so get the word out. What in the school district, what do you see and what have you seen the biggest change since you've been in the education arena? The
most frustrating thing for me is attending these meetings. You have a parent who is involved. They call meetings, but then when we get to those meetings, they have no plan. So literally, the parent will call the meeting. We get all the school officials around the table. I'm a cheerleader for them. On the inside, I'm screaming, yes, and we get there, they have no clue. They don't know what to ask for, so we're kind of sitting around the table like, okay, we're here. What do you need from us? And a parent cannot articulate what he or she needs for her student. That's the first thing that irks me. Second thing that irks me is when we have these meetings, we're all here for the student and the parent is doing all the talking. I work in high school. So we're talking, 4 years away from real life adulthood. And my thing is you need to groom your student how to advocate for themselves. So we're all around the table and you're laying it out. I want this to happen. I want that to happen. I want this to happen. And the student is just kicked back, biting their nails, picking at their nails. That's my biggest pet peeve. Your student needs to be able to advocate for themselves and articulate what he or she needs to be successful, especially at the high school level.
Okay. Again, give the book your website and your phone number.
My website is www.theparentpal.com. You guys can reach me on my Contact Me page. Just fill out that form and I'll get right back with you.
Okay. So now if they want to get the book, that's available through the website or Amazon, or how can they get your book?
Well, they're both. The book and the workbook are available on Amazon.com. However, I am offering a Mother's Day special at this point. It's $30 for both the book and the workbook, a signed copy, and you can order that through my website.
Okay. So now for what you're doing to book in a website, also, so you'll go out, do presentation workshops, if they're talking the right price.
Well,
nothing is free.
They say money talks. That's what they say.
Yes.
That's a very important part. But
it don't talk, but it pay for hotel rooms and airplane tickets.
It definitely does. It does that part.
Yeah.
But yes, that is a part of it. But my main goal is to get the message out.
Okay. So right now you have your business. So if someone calls you, how do you roll out the plan? How do you assess their child? How do you, know where they are on the spectrum, and what do you do?
Right. So our initial call is going to be introduction, of course. So you call me, we'll have a talk. You tell me where you are in the process. Is your student diagnosed? Is your student not diagnosed? Is your student just having some behavioral issues? And that allows me to see where you are on the spectrum. Then we can move towards testing. Does your student have a 504 plan? Have you progressed to an IEP plan? Where are we in the IEP plan? Are we at the beginning? Are we looking to change it? So all of those are factors, and I need to find that out first, and that will happen on our initial call.
So now you got the initial call. Now you lay out the plan. So now how does the parent say, okay, I want to pull the trigger. I want to move forward. What do you know? How do you coach them along? Is the initial call is 1 hour? Is that a consultation for free, or is there a fee base even to talk to you?
Well, all of my calls are fee-based because you will have some results, okay? So it is results-driven.
Okay.
Yes, the initial call is introductory, so I can see where you are, and then we'll build a strategy from there. The action is going to be up to you. All I can do is give you my expertise, but the action is going to be up to you as a parent. So we'll come up with a plan. You follow through with that plan. By our next call, we'll be on to the next part of that plan, but we'll build out a solid plan for you to move forward.
Okay. So right now, parent in the system, and now they say, something, we need to reevaluate. I don't know what's going on. And again, you're coaching. I get it. You're not hands-on. You're coaching them to empower them, and that's really what's important. So
right.
With that parent, do you also have other organizations that you would say join this organization for a support group? Do you have that in your region, or what's actually going on?
We do actually. We have several organizations in the area that offer parent advocates as well. So I would link them to some different organizations in the area that could help them with that. But primarily, given that I have that experience, I'm hoping that I would empower them enough so that they'll be able to speak up for themselves. Of course, for those that need some more in-depth training, I do volunteer to come to the meetings as well.
Okay. So you've been on the educator side of IEPs. How many have you been on the opposite side and saying, okay, the school district is totally out of line. They don't know what they're doing, and they're not meeting the child's objective?
In my mind, I say that. But of course, you have to be careful when you're coaching parents and inserting your own opinions. But I don't think it's necessarily the district. Here's my thing. My goal is to bridge the gap between home and school, right? As it sits right now, when you go to a meeting, it's like a battle of sorts, right? Everybody has their guard up. So the parent's ready to give his or her side, but you got the school over here ready to defend, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where I want to come in, and I want to change that perspective a little bit, because we're not here to battle. We're here to collaborate so that we can work in the best interest of the children, right? Of the child, of the student, so we can move towards success. So that's really where I want to bridge that gap. I want to be the mediator, the liaison, right? So we both can come together, home and school, meet in the middle, and make sure the student has what they need. So when you say, this district is totally out of line, I do have that educator perspective. So I don't want to even go that far and say it's the district's fault, right? What I want to say is we have to show, the parent has to show that, hey, I'm in it to win it. I'm going to give 100% as well. You can't expect the parent to give 100% and you don't give your part, or vice versa. The school can't give all they can and the parent not be involved. So I'm here to kind of bridge that gap. I don't want to call sides, if you will.
Well, that's nice of you. That's very nice of you. You know, we believe in calling sides, but with that, we do hold the parent and the child accountable also.
Right.
One side. But if the district is not meeting the objective once a kid gets to the classroom or get to the school, we're going to call them out.
But does the district know what those objectives are?
So
here's the thing. Here's how school works. I'm not going to do it until you tell me that there's an issue.
Right.
Is that right? No.
It's just how it is. It's just how it is.
Right. But when you have 1,800 plus students, right? You're only gonna, what's the saying? The loudest. What's the saying?
The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yes, there it is. The squeaky wheel gets the oil, right?
All right.
It's the same concept. You got to open your mouth and say, hey, I need, in order for us to service that need. If you don't say anything, I'm not going to say anything either. And I think that's the position that districts hold. Because
it is.
Children.
Right, because I understand. Okay, again, I'm a business owner. Is when a kid has all these challenges, they're an asset because you get the money. But when you got to deliver the services, they're a liability because you got to deliver the services. And just what you said, the school district, they say your kid got all these issues, there's a lot of money. Now, to deliver the services, that kid might need someone to stay with them all day. That's a lot of cost. That's a big cost. You know, and we go in and say, okay, IEP says this. So the district, like I said, they know. It's just when you pull the tab and say, now you've been held accountable. You know, and there's millions of dollars at stake. We get it. We understand, you know.
And I agree to an extent. So you just said that it's a lot of money involved, right? So before you invest your money, what are you going to make sure? Oh, you're going to make sure that, right.
Right.
So, yes, I get what you're saying, and I understand it to an extent.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm all about the parents. They got to make sure they got all their ducks in a row. If you're going to come to me and say, I need to spend this much money on your child, I need to see the why. Like, you essentially need to have a report ready as to why this is what I need. Do you see what I'm saying? You can't just come to me and be like, you know what, I need somebody to follow my kid around all day. You can't.
But no, the calls we get, the kids already have the IEP. We're not. Also, time we never have been on the front end where we saying a kid might need one. We come in where the child already has it.
Right.
Because what happens
but there needs to be a justification for that.
Yeah, but we get the call many times because of the discipline, and then we say, okay, let us see the attendance, let us see the discipline, let us see the tardy. We want to see the whole picture of the kid, and then we say also we have IEP. Yeah, then we say, oh, okay, well they're not meeting the IEP. So now we need to address that separate from the discipline problem, because many times you know that if you look at the IEP, you can't discipline that kid because that's part of their challenges is that. But if you don't know they have IEP, we just had a kid transferred and the school district looked at his discipline report but not the IEP for 3 weeks. So they were writing him up to get him out the district to discipline him out. But now look at the IEP saying, oh, well, we need to change some things in how we deal with this child.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. Because we go in when it's already laid out. We don't go in saying this child might need.
Absolutely. And I'm all about holding districts and schools accountable. I'm all for it. Right. However, like I said, I've had that parent that comes in and they think that they use accommodations like it's a buffet. I want that, I want that, I want that, and I want that just because it's available. But when you're choosing accommodations, it's not a buffet. It needs to be specific to your child, right? Right. So my thing is justify the need. And if you justify the need,
with justify the need, say, okay, you want that? Well, mom and dad, you got to do extra 15 minutes at home because you want that to get the result at home too. Now that's going to take now an hour. So like you said, it's both sides. You can't expect them to get it all at home And
Right.
at school, you don't do anything at home. No.
Right.
I was on a conference call with a superintendent 2 days ago. So I had to go in and speak in front of their board and address a couple of things. And he said, Mr. Green, I wanted to find out really what was going on. So when I really started talking to him, he said, I appreciate that you're fair. I said, yeah, we're fair. We're part of the team. And with part of the team is you hold each of your teammates, responsible.
Right.
Mom, child, you're being held responsible. Teacher, administration, superintendent, you're being held accountable. And with that, now you're going to call us after our meeting with the district. You're going to call us 10 days in a row to make sure the basis we get to roll out the program is a smooth transition. So if not, then we need to go right back in to make sure we're going to meet the objective.
Right. And I agree 100%. 100%. I think schools should be held accountable. However, it's very important that parents do their part as well.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I'm that mom, I'm that mom. I'm that mom that's going to be requesting, certain accommodations. But at the same time, I have my justifications. He needs this card. And I think that's another thing I will say. Parents don't understand that as educators, we want you to run the meeting. Essentially, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to request that meeting. You come into the meeting, you say, this is what I want, and this is the reason I want it.
Right.
You run the meeting. But parents they're not empowered to do that.
Right.
So, we in turn are kind of around the table like, we not just going to throw it out there. So what do you want to do?
So I think an opportunity for you in your business model would be parent advocacy 101 and just do it in a big workshop. So, and as you go out with the other Black organizations, say, hey, I'm doing this workshop, send your parents who have children that's in the spectrum that we can help. So then we help them navigate the system, on top of it, and that'll be an important piece. Because there, they'll get initial of what you do, and then they'll be able to say, I want additional services.
Right. And that's what I want to simplify the act of advocacy. When we hear advocacy, especially in our community, the Black community, it's such a big overarching word, right? It's very intimidating when you hear advocate. But I just want to simplify it. It's simply sending a hello email at the beginning of the semester. It's simply showing up at the parent-teacher open house to introduce yourself. That's simply what advocacy is. So I want to simplify that act. So you hit on something when you said have a parent advocate one-on-one. Just simple. This is what it looks like.
That, and then also I believe we need a school district one-on-one in which we just teach parents basically what's going on and how the school district works. Because parents drop their children off, blindly.
Have no clue
what goes on behind the closed doors. And we cause for the bullying and everything else that we get, and saying, parents, you got to be involved more than just on the sporting nights, so.
Exactly. Yeah. So true. Absolutely. Got to be involved more so than the sporting nights. And you have to listen to your kids. You have to talk to your kids. Talk to them. Have a conversation with them.
I think something as with young children, parents need to listen to the child, because when a child says, my teacher don't like me, and kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they can't articulate really what's going on, but they know something is different, how they're being treated versus the rest of the kids. And it could be that little Jerry raised his hand and teacher look over me. It could be when I do something, they're less tolerant with what I do versus someone else in the class who doesn't look like me. And I think these are important things when parents are in tune and watching their child and doing a debrief every day as to what's going on, are things that they'll notice and be like, okay, something ain't right with little Jerry,
And not necessarily that you have to act on it immediately, but always take notes. You know what I'm saying? Put that in the back of your mind. I will say that when my son first started school, we had him in a charter school. We thought that would be the best environment for him, right? Because at that time he was not diagnosed. We just knew that he was very active.
Right.
But he would come home and he would say things like that. My teacher doesn't like me. Or he would come home the next day and say, my teacher told so-and-so to shut up. Okay, so that's the second time I heard, that didn't sound right. But, we continue about our day. He'll come home the third day and say, my teacher makes me sit outside the classroom the whole time. By that time, I'm like, let me drop in. So it's very important that you listen to your kids, listen to what they're saying, and listen to what they're not saying, because that's where your parental spidey senses should start tingling, right?
Right.
And go and check on them. Yeah.
Okay. So again, website, phone number, your book.
Yes. So my website is www.theparentpal.com. You guys can contact me by clicking on the contact me link. The tab, type in your information. I'll get back to you.
Okay. And the book?
It's also available on my website, and it's also available on Amazon.com, as well as the parent workbook.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to say that I didn't ask that you really want anyone who might watch the video to know?
Two things. Always remember that you are the expert. As a parent of your child, you are the expert, and you are the best advocate for your child, right? Not the teacher, not the principal, not the mentor. You are the best advocate for your child, and you are the expert when it comes to parenting your child. Always remember that. And the second thing I always love to say is that learning disabilities are simply superpowers waiting to be developed, right? I like to change that term from learning disabilities to learning abilities. I wholeheartedly believe that every child can learn. It's not a matter of if they can learn, it's a matter of how they learn. So it's also important to remember that as well.
Let me tell you an experience I had now about 12, 15 years ago. I was living in Anaheim, California, and I came over the hill and went to the gas station, and I saw a guy, his challenge was a sight, so he had, a stick walking. Mm-hmm. And so I said, hey, man, where you going? He said, I'm going over the hill, basically. And I said, okay, I'll give you a ride. Because I knew, because he had to go over the hill, navigate through construction, come back, so it would have been a long time for him to do that. So get in my car or my truck, and we going over the hill. We talk to him, man, so what do you do? He says, well, yeah, I'm on my way to the college, the extension over here, to teach my class, my college course. I said, college course? He said, yeah, I have my degree, and I'm teaching online to other blind students. And it really made me reflect and look and say, who really has the disabilities?
Right.
Because we make so many excuses when we have all our faculties working versus someone who just says, okay, that's just a challenge I got to overcome, and I'm still going to make it work.
Absolutely. Right. Always focus on their abilities. What are they good at?
Right.
Hone in on that. Cultivate that. Yeah. Right.
Okay. So, again, this is Jerry Green, the Black Student Advocate. Again, Emme Smith, thank you for your time. Get the book.
Thank you for having me.
One more time. What's the book?
The book is A is for Advocacy. It can be purchased on Amazon.com, or it can also be purchased on my website, www.theparentpal.com.
Again, thank you, ma'am. Blessings. Have a great night.
Thanks.